So in this video, we're going to talk about how to solve equations that have a variable on both sides of the equal sign. So the commutative and associative properties will help us solve these equations. The commutative property allows us to move terms around when we're adding or multiplying. As you've seen before, it's very useful when we're trying to combine like terms because we like to go through our problem and rearrange the terms so that the like terms are written with each other. The associative property allows us to group terms in the equations. If we already have groups in our equations, the associative property allows us to rearrange those groups. It's also useful when we're trying to combine like terms because remember, we're trying to group the like terms so that we can simplify them in our expressions. Solving multi-step equations with a variable on both sides is going to include a lot of the same steps that we've already been doing. We're going to start off by distributing to simplify any terms where you have a factor multiplying a parentheses. Then we're going to combine like terms, and then we're going to add in this step where we move all of our variables to one side of the equation. So this is the new step we're adding in when we have a variable on both sides. Then we're going to add or subtract, and then we multiply or divide in order to isolate the variable. So let's look at this first example. We have 10x equals 8x minus 6. So when you're working through these steps, if you don't need any of these steps when you're solving a problem, you can just skip it and move to the next one. So for example, there's nothing to distribute in this problem, so I can skip step 1. We don't have like terms in either side of the equation, so we can skip step 2. And we can go straight to step 3, where I'm going to move all my variables to one side of the equation. So on the right side, notice I have 8x. That 8x is a positive 8x, right? So what I'm going to do is, to move it to the other side of the equal sign, I have to use an opposite operation. So the opposite of a positive 8x would be to subtract 8x from both sides. That's the only way I'm allowed to move terms to the other side of the equal sign. So I'm going to subtract 8x from both sides. 10x minus 8x is going to be 2x. 8x and minus 8x will cancel, leaving me with negative 6. Now I have 2 times negative 6, so you can see I don't need addition or subtraction in this problem. So I'm going to go ahead and skip to multiplication or division. So I have 2 times x, so the opposite is going to be to divide 2 from both sides. That leaves me with x equals negative 6 over 2, which is negative 3. So let's try solving the equation 2 times x minus 4 equals 7x plus 2. So I'm going to start off using the distributive property to simplify the expression. So I distribute the 2, which gives me 2 times x minus 2 times 4, and that equals 7x plus 2. 2 times x is going to be 2x minus 2 times 4, which is 8, and that equals 7x plus 2. I don't have like terms to combine, so I'm going to go to the next step and move all my variables to one side. So this 7x on the right is once again a positive 7x, so I'm going to subtract 7x from both sides because I have to do the opposite. 2x minus 7x is negative 5x. Bring down the minus 8, and that equals 7x minus 7x, which cancels out, and then I'm left with 2. So negative 5x minus 8x equals 2. Now I'm going to use addition to undo that minus 8. So I'm going to add 8 to both sides. That leaves me with negative 5x. Minus 8 and plus 8 cancel. That equals 2 plus 8, which is 10. Now I need to divide negative 5 from both sides to isolate my variable. So that gives me x equals 10 divided by negative 5, which is negative 2. So now let's try this equation. This looks a little bit different than the problems we've been doing because notice that everything on the left side is being divided by 3. So that's a really good place to start when you're doing this problem, is we want to undo that divide by 3, and so I can do that by multiplying by 3. And remember, I'm allowed to do that as long as whatever I do on one side of my equation, I repeat on the other side. So I'm going to multiply the left side by 3 to take care of that fraction, and that means that I have to multiply the right side by 3 as well. So when I multiply that left side by 3, this 3 is going to cancel out, leaving me with 8x minus 1 equals 2x times 3, which is 6x. Now I need to move all my variables to one side. The opposite of 6x is minus 6x. So on the left side, I have 8x minus 6x, which is 2x. Bring down that minus 1, and that equals 6x minus 6x, which is 0. So I have nothing left on my right side of the equation. Now I'm going to add 1 to both sides, and that is going to leave me with 2x, the 1's will cancel, equals 0 plus 1, which is 1. Now I need to divide by 2 to get x by itself. So that gives me x equals 1/2, which you can leave as a fraction, or if you prefer, you can write it as a decimal, x equals 0.5. Either way is fine. So let's try solving this equation. Negative 4 times 10 minus 7x equals 3x plus 10. So let's start off with our distributive property and go ahead and distribute this negative 4. So we get negative 4 times 10. Bring down the minus, and we have negative 4 times 7x equals 3x plus 10. Negative 4 times 10 is going to be negative 40. Now we have minus negative 4 times 7x will be negative 28x. That equals 3x plus 10. Notice I have one of these double signs going on right here. So minus minus, remember, will become a plus. So we have negative 40 plus 28x equals 3x plus 10. Now let's move all our variables to one side of the equation. So the opposite of 3x will be minus 3x. So I'm going to subtract that from both sides. And remember, when you're subtracting to move the variable over, remember that the variables only combine with the variables. So that's why I write that minus 3x right under the 28x. So negative 40 comes down, and then we have plus 28x minus 3x, which is 25x. That equals 3x and 3x will cancel. That equals 10. So now I have negative 40 plus 25x. So I need to add 40 to both sides. Negative 40 and 40 will cancel, so I get 25x equals 10 plus 40, which is 50. So to solve 25x equals 50, I have to divide both sides by 25. So when I do that, I get x equals 50 divided by 25, which is 2. So remember, to solve an equation with a variable on both sides, we're going to use these steps. We're going to distribute, combine like terms, move all the variables to one side, add or subtract, and then multiply or divide.